All right, everybody, welcome back to the 42284 podcast. I'm here with Jeremy, Kyle, and we've got a guest sitting over here beside Kyle. I call him Dad. A lot of people call him Jimmy. Some people call him Gabby. We're going to get into some stories with him.
And some call me Zig.
Yes, that's true.
What?
Zig,
yeah. The guy beside of him, I think. Where was you born at, Dad?
Brownsville, Kentucky, in Dr. Farmer's office.
I think that's a standard response from a lot of people in this area. That's what Dale said.
In that age group.
Yeah, you're a 55 model, is that right?
Yeah.
I thought Dad wasn't your January 1st of 55, right?
Yeah.
New Year's Day, baby.
Yeah. Dad was February, so y'all were real close in age. You went to St. John's to the school?
Through the 8th grade.
Through the 8th grade. And then high school, was it down here at the time, or did you go to
No, I went to Brownsville.
Brownsville? Well, they probably weren't even offering the high school down here, though.
No.
were they? They'd consolidated.
I believe Uncle Royce told me that he went his freshman and sophomore year to Sunfish, but then they consolidated in about 60.
Somebody said.
I think 60 and 61 was his junior and senior year.
Yeah,
he went to Brownsville
I think Kevin said
for the high
other
school.
night
I'm pretty
that
sure
was
that's
about
right.
Yeah.
But the 8th grade went on through until whatever you boys said, 70.
Yeah, Dad and his bunch got kicked out of the schools down here.
No, I didn't know that.
You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah, they kicked the whole family out.
Just on the count of 10, everybody else had to leave? Or
I don't know which one done what. They kicked all 5 of them out. And I think Mike ended up coming back and graduating from Edmonson County. But, yeah, they expelled them all.
it might have been like when...
I think the girls were innocent bystanders, to be honest with you. I think that's the story. And I think Dorothy, my grandmother, thought that she got into it in the whole mix of it, and maybe thought Grayson County was a better option, so they ended up there. And so I know John and Tim, and then Patty and Kitsy, they all graduated from up there.
Gracie.
Yeah. What year did you graduate?
73.
73. Yeah.
Ted Kinser told me he got kicked out of the 5th grade one time, and I said,
Is this G-rated?
"Yeah." I said,
Okay.
"What'd you do, Ted?" He said, "I went out and got my car, and I went to the house."
There was a boy.
I don't know.
There was a guy that in the 7th grade, I ain't gonna say his name.
I remember.
But he drove to school.
Yeah, he was parking back with the teachers.
Yeah, parking back.
And
He'd go out and sit smoking his car at lunch.
They made him quit, and so he over behind Birdie's. Do you remember when that was the washerama? You remember when that was a quarter?
Yeah, it was a laundromat.
So he started parking over there, and then just walked across over to the middle school.
Dad took care of that laundromat for a little while. I don't remember who owned it. Maybe a Van Meter or somebody.
I don't know.
Walton Woods owned it.
Woods. So Dad took care of it. And one of those old washers and dryers went bad in there. And they said, "You can just have it if you'll take it." And so he took it and got to messing with it and got him going. And when we built that house up the Crooked Road in 85 or 86, we had coin-operated washer and dryer in the utility room, I promise. Mom would get quarters and put in there, and Dad wouldn't give her the key, so she could just recycle those quarters, and she'd wash clothes, and he'd go buy beer at the mug. That's true.
So you're one of 11 kids. Where do you fall in line?
Right in the middle.
Right in the middle.
5 older, 5 younger.
What's boys and girls in your bunch? How many of each?
5 boys, 6 girls.
5 boys, 6 girls.
Who's the oldest? Is it
Sue.
Sue? Okay.
And Joan's the youngest. Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought Kenny was the youngest.
No,
No.
there's one girl younger than Kenny.
Phyllis and Evelyn were twins.
Yeah, I think I knew that.
And they would have been, what, number 3? Because ain't it Sue?
Yeah, Sue, Helen, and then the twins.
Then the twins.
Well,
Yeah.
Then
3 and
Paul
4.
and then me.
Well, yeah. I didn't know which one was 3 and which one was 4, but
I think he had his shoes off.
that's all we're trying to figure.
Yeah. So Warren Hayes was your dad. Everybody knew Warren. Everybody drove past down there. Waved at him over the years. Got gum from him at church. He was my godfather. in church when I was baptized. But your mother was a Durbin, right?
Right.
And what Irene Durbin, wasn't that her name?
Yeah.
Irene.
Thomas was her dad.
And Thomas was the woodworker.
Yeah.
Wasn't he?
Didn't he have a cabinet shop right there about where Martha's house or something?
Yeah.
They're close. And he done all the woodwork in the church, right?
Yeah, that church, that's what somebody told me, was built in 36, I think. And he built the pews and did all the trim work and stuff.
And then on the other side, wasn't Papa's dad when they used to have the picnic down there at the church? Did I hear that was he always the one that cooked the mutton?
Oh, there was a lot of them in on that.
Okay,
Have I ever showed you the pits down there?
I've seen them. Yeah.
Down in and a lot of people don't know they're there. There's old rock-lined pits down in the woods.
And that's where they cook.
Yeah, that used to be. Dad told me, and Jimmy, you probably remember this. That was all cleared out there behind the old school.
Yeah. They had a dance floor and everything.
Yeah,
down
had
there.
like a stage dance floor built, and the old pits were down there, and the old tin was laying down there that they, I guess they put, the pig in, put the tin on it, and then put the coals on top of it, and the men would go down and spend the night cooking, right, for the church or for the picnic.
Yeah.
It's 4th of July. Is that what it?
I don't know if it's 4th of
Yes,
July.
4th
or,
of July, yeah. They would kill the hogs up on the hill where we lived, We'd do the hog killing up there, and they would do the sheep killing down at Big Branch.
which has got the bridge out right now, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
what we decided
Right
somebody,
down there where the bridge.
yeah, it says Whetstone Creek on the map, but everybody around here calls it Big Branch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only reason I knew it was Whetstone. Michael Joe.
Michael Joe used that with his registered Angus.
Yeah, with his cattle, they're Whetstone Farms. But before that, I'd never heard it called anything other than Big Branch.
Yeah, on the map, it's Whetstone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were down there at the church earlier today for the funeral, and I told somebody, I said, if Dennis would go down there and knock both sides of that branch down where people could drive across, that he'd probably charge pretty good admission.
Toll. Good
Toll,
toll.
yeah, just drive across that branch. There were people that were late for the funeral because they
I'm
didn't
sure.
know. We tried to get the word out.
So you mentioned funeral. Jeremy's uncle passed away.
Yeah,
and,
so
and they
Dad's-
buried him today.
Dad's youngest brother, Mike, passed away. He was 64, I think.
So in remembrance of him, there was one story I wanted you to tell. Wasn't he a hero at one time? Was it in Bowling Green? The snack machine story?
I told this. Now, you talking about the hotel story?
I don't remember the details.
So now he got in trouble in Bowling Green one time because he was staying at a construction site. He'd work construction through the day, and then he had a camper set up there, and he would be the security at night. And he got the munchies. They were working on the old hospital on the hill, and he got the munchies one night. He didn't have any change, so he removed glass from the front of the snack machine to get some snacks. And the next day he went and got the piece of glass to put it back. But that wasn't good enough, and I think they didn't want him there anymore. But he come into the store down here one day. I think it's the story you're want me to tell, and had the newspaper to back this up. Yeah. So he came into the store one day, and I hadn't saw him in a while. I said, "Hey, Mike, what you been into?"
Which wasn't uncommon.
Right,
Mike
yeah,
would
Mike
go
was-
somewhere and you wouldn't see him for
I
years, and then he'd just show up.
I probably didn't meet Mike twice in my life.
Right. So honestly, he was a fun uncle. I told him down at the funeral. He's the first person to let me drive a vehicle on the road in my life. I was 11 years old, and we were hauling a tractor, and the truck ran out of gas right down below your house in that curve. We unloaded the tractor, hooked it to the truck. He said, "Drive that steering wheel, just follow the tractor." And up the road we came to the store. And John A. pitched a fit. Because I can't believe you let... He said, "Well, you was letting me drive when I was that age." Of course, it's different when it's your grandkid.
Sure.
So, but anyhow, so he just would show up places, and you may not see him for a year. And so, honestly, I always kind of figured Mike had just... We would know what happened to him. Because he may be in Colorado, or he may be here. But later in life, he really started keeping in touch with people. And when texting come about, we text back and forth. But so anyhow, so he comes in the store one day, and I hadn't saw him in a while, and I said, "Hey, Mike, how are you doing?" "Pretty good. How are you?" So what you been into? Just in Bowling Green. He's got to fight last night. I said, "You got to fight?" He said, "Yeah." I said, he didn't have a mark on him. And so he said, I said, "Well, what'd you get in a fight?" He said, "Well, I was in, the Cardinal Inn, or one of those old low-end motels down in Bowling Green." He said, I was checking in. Said, this old boy come in to rob that place with a gun. And he said, I'll be honest with you. He said, I took a gun away from him. He said, flipped it around, pulled the trigger. He said, would you believe that chicken didn't even have that thing loaded? I said, oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
He said, yeah. He said, what's our... He said, it just clicked. And he said, I thought, well, I'm going to whip him with this gun. He said, so we went at it. He said, we tore the hotel all to heck. He said, ended up getting in the bathroom and knocked the toilet off the floor. And I said, Mike... You know, because, I mean, he was really, I mean, it was getting far-fetched. I said, Mike, I don't know if I believe all that. You ain't got a mark on you. Well, I got the best of him, he said, which was, I mean, that was kind of Mike. You didn't want to mess with him. And so we went on there, and I said, Mike, I just don't know. He said, well, hang on a minute. He goes out, comes back in, and he's got a daily newspaper that's got the story on the front page with his name.
Proud of it.
Yeah. Broken toilet and all. He said, I waited for the store to open this morning so I could get that. He wanted to see it. But he was something. He was, he was like a nomad, but he, looking back, had a lot of fun with him. I think, there's a lot of people that may have butted heads with him over time. And his legal name at one time, and we don't know if he changed it back or not, I think was Out of Trouble. And his best friend's name was In Trouble. And together they were Double Trouble. And Bumpo...
That's in Natty's book.
Bumpo done the work.
Yeah,
and it's in the book.
Tales of
and
a
their
Country
pictures
Lawyer.
in the book.
They are in the book, yeah.
Yeah. And so, different time back then. I think us three ought to change our names to something cool like that. Make it catchy.
There we go. Well, while you're on that, and you done touched on them getting kicked out of school, and we're on Mike, there's one more story from your family I want you to tell, and then we'll get back on Dad here. The realtor calling you about the house.
Oh, I don't know if I remember all what happened, but they had my grandmother had a lake house over here at Nolan Lake. And when she passed away in 92, my dad and one of his siblings were co-executors. And so their name, I guess, was on the deed. And so there was the person who bought it had never sold it. And so about 8 or 10 years ago, they decided to sell it. And so they called me and said, do you know a Timothy Durbin? And I said, yeah, it's my dad. Why? Well, we've got some... the title for this, and it's got just a little bit of issue with it, and we're trying to get something worked out. And Dad, actually, it was right after Dad passed away, so my father's passed away. And I said, now his sister's still going. And so they got it worked out. But best I remember, and you may correct me because I remember, but they got in the attic of that place, and there were marijuana plants in the attic still that were hung up, were drying, and forgot it. I can't remember what had happened.
Well, she said you don't act very surprised, and you said I'm just surprised they didn't take them.
Yeah, I'm surprised they left them.
Yeah,
I'm surprised they left them.
You were way more surprised they were there or they were left there than they were there.
Yeah.
So
they, there's a lot of stories like that.
Right. Well, I've told people Tim was kind of like the Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings kind of Sunfish version.
Yeah. I don't know how I stayed on the straight and narrow, but I did. So, for the most part.
All right, so back on Dad. So Dad listened to us tell some stories on him pranking Kyle's dad, and we talked about that, we didn't prank Dad and didn't know of too many that did, but he said that some of those pranks that he pulled on Gary were paybacks. So we want to hear about Gary pranking you.
Well, like I say, he had them bought and paid for. One night we were up there at the old mill.
Up here at Sunfish?
Yeah, remember when he owned the old mill, Kyle?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we were working on a Mack differential. Of course, he had all kinds of parts up there in that thing. Used parts, So we go always need something. So he thinks he's got it up there in the old mill. So we go up there, and one light bulb in that building. And it might have been 40 watt.
One that worked or one in total?
The light bulb.
The only one that had a bulb in it.
Okay.
all the rest of the light sockets was empty,
Yeah.
you know. It might have been 40 watt, and he had an old flashlight that
It was 10 watt.
maybe.
We always had 100 flashlights that didn't work.
We were saying.
Oh my goodness. Go ahead.
So we were in there scrounging through that stuff, and he would say, "Did you hear that?" No, I didn't hear nothing. A little bit. You didn't hear that? No, I didn't hear nothing. Well, he kept on with that, you know. No, I don't hear nothing. He said, "There's something in here. There's something in here." But he kept on with that, you know. So, anyway, we found whatever it was we was after, you know. So he was trying to prank me to think there was something in there scared me.
Yeah.
You know, typical Gary. So anyway, we went to Nashville to get some truck parts, and the ritual was when you went to Tennessee, you got some fireworks because they didn't sell them around here then.
I remember that. Indiana or Tennessee.
And you could get real M80s then,
Right.
real ones. So we had stopped down there and got us some fireworks and pulled in there. There Gary was, aired up a truck tire. No 3-piece ring, you know. Not a safety chain over it.
Which they were outlawed for killing people, right? For blowing them
Yeah.
off. Yeah.
That ring would blow off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was hurting people, and they outlawed them.
Yeah.
And most time you'd want to put them in a cage or
Or
some
put a
way-
log chain.
Put a chain around them.
Yeah. But he wouldn't
take
didn't
way
have
too
a
much
chain
time, you
on
know.
it or nothing. We pulled in. Braden, he was little then. He was with me. So I pulled in there. Of course, I smoked cigarettes then. He looked up at us from there in that tire, and he went back there in that tar. So I just touched one of them M80s to that cigarette and just eased it out the door. Kabow! It sounded like it blowed the sides of the barn off, you know, that plastic. That air hose went one way and he went the other.
He doesn't know he'd been
Oh,
had.
that probably gave me a heart attack.
I
messing with
Yeah, it about did him because he was white as a sheet,
it. Yeah.
you know. He
Char-
took it in stride pretty good. So then after that, we were up there scrounging around the old mill. And the old green dump truck, he had it back there in that corn crib. So he said, "Zig," said, "pull your truck around here, shine your lights." Said, "The battery's dead in that truck."
Hold on, pause. I'm starting to see a pattern here that y'all were always up there looking for parts in the dark.
Yeah, we
It
worked on
sounded that
stuff
way,
of the
didn't it?
night, yeah.
Well, you had to get it done that
Had to
night.
get it done
to-
that night
so
the
it
truck
run
could
next
that
day,
day.
That's
yeah,
right. They
yeah.
wouldn't know this 2 or 3 or 4 week stuff.
Yeah.
You know, Gabby lay out there all night long to get it
one
going.
running. Well, I've heard him tell stories that Gary would say, "You think you'll have this going by morning?" Well, I don't know. Well, extra 100 in it if you've got it going in the morning. You know,
More
then
times
whatever,
than once.
whatever
We'll
the
get
bill
into that
was,
later.
Whatever the bill was, you know, he didn't complain about the bill, and there was extra 100 on it if it was hooked at trailers. next
Trucks
morning.
need to be running.
So anyway, of course, the battery was dead in the truck.
It's what, like a 70 model Chevrolet dump truck?
It was a 70.
That old
green
truck
one.
had a grain chute on the back of it.
Yeah, that I made a creek rock truck out of.
Yeah.
I pulled my pickup around there, and he's got him a 1/2-inch wrench, and he raised that hood. When I get out, I slide that 38 out, you know, and I walk up there to the hood. And about the time he put that wrench on, I just pulled that trigger, shot in the ground.
Kabow again.
Of course, he throwed both hands up over his face. He thought that battery had done got him. He says, "Boy, Zig, I wish you wouldn't do me like that." I said, "Well, remember all them times in there in the
It's
mill?"
funny,
Yeah.
You know, I said, "Wasn't that funny?" Yeah. I said, "Well, I think it's funny when I scare you." So anyway, he didn't prank me much more after that.
Was the tie rod on the blue truck before or after this?
Oh, that was after.
Let me tell you this before you get into that one. You was talking about that dump truck, and it brought a memory to my mind. Your dad got me to bring him a load of creek rock one time. that's when they was doing some timber up on logging the low ridge, some timber up there. Do you remember the Mennonite guy he got to be big buddies with?
Yeah, Troy. Right?
Troy, yep, right. And so me and Josh, we rocked that whole road up there, and Tim wanted to load on his driveway. I said, well, sure, I'll bring it first, and we'll let that guy see what it is. So me and my
this is when he was living down in the house there behind you.
The log house. It was log or log sided, cedar sided house. Yeah. So me and my naivete, I'm gonna spread this creek rock.
Oh boy.
It's a 70 model Chevrolet, 14-foot grain bed on it. I guarantee you a 6-8 foot hangs over the back axle. Yeah. I pull her out about 4 chains or something like that. Josh is with me. He gets out. Tim says, you can't spread that. I said, oh, Tim, I can spread that. He said, no, I'm telling you, you can't spread that. Not that you can't. Creek rock, it won't spread. I said, well, let me try it. So I put her in gear, and I, get the bed coming up, and it's stuck in there. It's kind of muddy and wet. So I thought, well, I'll pop that clutch a little bit and get her going. When I did, son, she raced straight up. That front axle was 6 foot off the ground. You could walk underneath of it.
And you sit there?
Tim is dying laughing. I turn around, look, Josh is gone. I said, where'd Josh go? He said, I don't know, he run in the woods. I said, Josh, what are you doing? He said, I'm hiding. I don't want nobody to think I'm with y'all. It comes through by here. So we got the truck down and pried it out, let the gates, and dumped him a pile of rocks there then. Yeah. I didn't mean to interrupt you about you. That Trippin' Old Blues, pretty good story.
Your daddy, he caused me to lose a lot of nights sleep. A lot of nights. I'd have one of them trucks in the shop overhauling or something, and he'd float through there, late. Zig, that's what he always called me. When you think you have her done, I said, sometime tomorrow. He'd say, extra $100 if I can use that truck in the morning. I go, phew. I go ahead and stay and work all night. But $100 would buy something back then.
It's different it is now, isn't it?
What was it you've told me before about the time you get over at the house, you'd hear that
There's
truck?
been times that I would be getting in the shower and hear that truck crank up to leave.
That's how close it was to him getting done for that driver to come pick it up.
Remember the night we was down there overhauling that 4300 when RC drove?
I don't know. Remind me.
Well, of course, now Gary would go get them parts, When RC come in, he was getting water and all this steaming, had a cracked liner. So that motor was still hot. Ronnie Lawrence went under the bottom, I went on the top, and he was draining the oil, taking the oil pan off. And
what motor? Big Cam Cummins or something?
Yeah. So we were taking this thing apart, and it's still hot, and handing RC the parts, So anyway, RC had to drive one of those old Macs the next day. Of course, I went there that next morning, started cleaning the block up, getting everything ready. Of course, Gary, he cut it to Bowling Green, got overhaul kits. You could get anything back then in Bowling Green. So we got back, me and Ronnie, we started putting that thing together, So RC, he comes in and he looked, he said, yeah, I guess I'm going to have to drive that old Mac again tomorrow. Yeah. He said, I'd buy y'all's breakfast at Windyville Sunday morning if y'all to get that thing running for me. So I wouldn't have to drive that Mac tomorrow. I said, we're going to eat breakfast off of you. We got that thing running. Took it back there, hooked the trailer up, pulled it back around in front of the shop so you'd see it. He got in there, and he said, Dojo couldn't have it done long because the air was still up on it.
I bet you didn't know that Gabby could rebuild injector pumps too.
No, I didn't know he was an injector pump man.
Or that's what I've heard. That's a story I've heard.
I know we put a gasket or two in some tractor ones over the years.
No, we're talking Cummins Big Cam injection pump. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I can't overhaul them.
Well, that's not what some people think.
A few people think that.
We pulled that trick a few times. You know, people get things in their head. This one guy in particular, he come in and, which Gene Haynes had drove that 4300. Of course, I'd built that thing to a big Cam 400, 625 CPL. And Gene had drove this truck, when we done that. Well, when he bought the Ford, Gene started driving the Ford, so he put this other guy in this, which it pulled good. Every one of them did, But anyway, he come in and that truck was running terrible, I'll not use the words he said, but anyway, it wouldn't pull. So me and Gary, we took it a little drive, and I said, well, I don't see nothing wrong with it, After he takes it a drive, and after he comes back, he said, God damn, there ain't nothing wrong with that truck. I said, well, just tell him to drive it tomorrow. And Gary said, boy, I said, I got to do something, or it'll be the same thing tomorrow evening. I said, go and hook that trailer and bring that truck up to the shop. So he brings it up to the shop, and we pull it in there. We take that fuel pump off. We stand her up on the end of the vise, and we take a can of ether. We spray that thing off, and then we take masking tape over the tags, and then we get that can of Cummins engine paint, and boy, we give her a new paint job. Let the paint dry, put her back on. He takes her down there and hooks her to the trailer,
Now, to be clear, never turned a screw.
Never. Just the 4 bolts to pull it off.
All they got was a clean and a paint job.
So anyway, that guy drives it the next day, and Gary said, well, that old fuel pump we went to Nashville and got in count? Yeah, see, that thing will tear a heel down now. Funny.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, which y'all pulled that a couple of times, I know, but speaking of fuel pumps, tell about turning the Mac up that time and that guy watching you.
Yeah, remember that old W3?
Oh, yeah.
We built that to E6 350. He had the pump done up at Evansville. Of course, they just set them bone stock, and Fats was driving it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it didn't suit Fats, so they wanted me to turn it up, Of course, they got that one little old special bolt, Anyway, I took that cap off, and Fats, he was leaning over that front wheel watching me. So anyway, I loosened that jam nut, and I backed that other one off. I back it off 2 rounds, and then lock it. Try that. So anyway, he drives it there, too, and then a few days after that, he pulls out down there at Gary's, and when he comes by the shop, just as he breaks over that hill, he shifts her into high gear. When he bashes on it, it looked like the sky was black across the front of the shop.
Like a freight train cover.
2 5-gallon buckets of fuel on open flames, what a guy told me one time.
He had watched it, and
he'd been messing with it.
yeah, he had got in there.
Got him 2 more rounds.
He backed her up more than 2.
Yeah.
And Bo Weevil, we overhauled that. Of course, Gary had the pump done up to Evansville. And Bo Weevil, he was legit, He said, boy, that thing just ain't hardly what it was. And so I give it a round, and I said, try that, So the next evening he comes in, and he said, that helped, but it just... I said, all right. I give him another round. Next evening I was coming up the road, and he was there at the fuel pump fueling up, and I pulled it out and said, hey, I said, I need to give out another round this evening. He said, nah. I said, you got her just right.
Just right. Like baby bear soup, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, is it true that the Mack, the Bulldog, was your favorite truck of all time?
I thought it was Volvo.
I don't know. He's awful fond of Macks, from what I hear.
Nah, I used to bring in Volvos down. He'd say, oh, boy, let's work on them.
Oh, man.
Which one's worse?
Not which is the best, which
Well,
one's
it's a
worse.
toss-up. It's a
Depending on what
toss-up.
you're doing to them.
It's a toss-up.
My dad, he was a Mack man, and he said he bought some new trucks
Was
there.
that because they were cheap?
No, I think he just had in his mind they were tough.
They are tough. They're
Yeah.
just
He bought
theirs
some
to
new
work
Macs
on.
That's what I was
before
getting
he
ready.
passed away.
That's what I was getting ready to say.
I forgot about
He
those.
bought 7 new ones there before he
Yeah.
passed away. And this is a story he used to tell on Gabby. I don't know if it's true or not. He can maybe confirm it. Gabby rode up to Banner with him one day, and they pulled on the lot, and he said, Zig said, we've died and went to heaven. And he said, Gabby said, I believe we went the other way.
they would brag about them Mack rear ends, how tough they were. Which, them 2-0 Internationals, they had put Mack rear ends under them. Gene was driving that 4300, and he wrung that shaft out. So they were down there at Robert Cook's. Paul Ray Darty's down there. Paul Ray said, "Boy, I ain't never seen one of them twisted out." And Gene said, "You put a horse in front of them, they'll twist them out."
They's hauling big loads back in too, wasn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, magnums. Yeah. Yeah, them was called magnums.
How come they called them magnums?
You know why they called them magnums? But anyway, get back to all this, some of this other. Y'all wanting to know about the blue truck. And y'all say he never pulled pranks on me, see? Weekend. You know, things closed and had a bearing out on the trailer. Messed the hub up. Well, they had one of them old trailers sitting down at the truck stop. So we decided they wasn't using it. So we decided we would just ride down there and pull a hub and drum off of it and put on it. Get this one going. So we were riding down the road. Gary was driving the old blue truck. I was in the middle and Gene was by the window. We left him by the window for a certain reason.
With it cracked.
All the way.
All the way down. All the way down. But anyway, we were going down. So Gary, he starts cutting that thing around on the road, to the left, to the right. And I said, "Gary, don't be doing that." He'd laugh. And I said, "Don't do that." I said, "Man, that old truck, that thing's old." I said, "Boy, tie a rod end or anything can fall off that thing." Well, he thought that was so funny, you know. He'd just keep doing it.
I wonder where you get it from.
So anyway, we go down there and we get that hub and drum. Come back, you know, he kind of, not as bad, but he'd do it every now and then, you know. And we pulled in down there, and when we pulled in, that tie rod end fell off.
Really?
Really. And he looked at me and he said, "You told me he was going to do that." Yeah.
Who'd have thought?
Boy, if that would have done that going down the road,
No, it'll whoop
the
all
way he
of
is
you.
doing, yeah. But see, you know, I had every right to scare him back.
Yeah, well, I agree.
See, he had them bought and paid for.
So was Autry in the blue truck the night pulling the disc?
Yeah.
Now you're talking blue truck, that old Ford you had.
Brandon's now
It's
now the
it's
owner
sitting
of
right
that.
down here.
Yeah, what, like 76 or
Seven.
Seven.
77.
Ford.
half ton.
Half
Ford.
ton.
306
Bulldog.
Bulldog.
Yeah.
Has pulled several loads of 11 rolls of hay on a gooseneck trailer.
Yes. And one time pulled 6 bales on a pipe wagon backwards off over there by Joe Buck's Hill.
Really?
Yeah.
He didn't make it to the top.
Speaking of driving before you got your license, try it with 6 rolls of hay on when you first get a John Deere roller. Yeah, it was quite a bit heavier than that Vermeer, Dad.
That's funny. I rode with your dad one time to Bee Springs in that truck, and we went up Bear Creek Hill, and he never downshifted. And we got to the top of that hill. I mean, you could almost count the strokes on that motor. It just lugging up through there.
She's a lugging,
Oh,
wasn't she?
man. Yeah. So Autry had the disc behind it.
Yeah. He was supposed to take it up there and put it in the old crib behind the mill.
And he was leaving Kurt's barn, right?
Yeah, we were all down there. That's when we're all working down there. Of course, we were having a few suds. So Autry, he wouldn't leave. And Gary kept telling him, said, "It's dark's going to catch you. Dark's going to catch you, you know." I said, "Well, Gene ain't going to leave unless I leave, you know." Kind of bust this up a little bit.
Done getting dusky dark, right?
Yeah. So I pull out and I take off, go out the road, and I go up to the church lane and I turn around. And
At St. John's.
Yeah. So I'm coming back and I meet Gene in the guardrails. So I do a big U-turn and take off after him. And I get that 38 out and I get to shooting up over the top of his truck. Of course, he'd get looking at the mirror, he'd dawdle and weave.
How big was the disc?
It'd take up over half the road. You
Ten,
know.
well,
Was it
that
the
John
one
Deere?
Kyle's got? That international fold-up disc?
Fold up disc,
Yeah.
I remember that. But
Oh,
as far
that's
as
a big
being the
disc.
international.
Yeah, 18-footer, but folded up. It's probably, what, 12?
I'd
Yeah.
say 12.
Yeah, it'd take a little more than the lane, you know.
So Autry thinks that he's run somebody off the road, now
And-
they're shooting at him.
And
Yeah,
they are
you
really
know.
mad.
He pulls into the mill seat, I pull in behind him. He goes around the mill, and I pull around through there.
Because it's dark. He really can't tell.
He don't know who's behind
Yeah,
him.
he just knows lights.
He knows somebody
Yeah.
was after him. He pulls around the mill, he gets out of the truck, and I pull up there. He said, "God damn, I thought there's somebody else." He said, "I thought I'd run somebody off the road."
Did you tell him as a success? That's what you wanted him to think?
No, but we got a laugh out of it.
Boy, I got in trouble up there at that mill one of the worst times of my life.
Really?
Yeah, there's a Super M farm all up there that they used to keep just to run the augers.
I
with.
remember
You know,
that.
old big
Yeah.
tractor.
Around the old big
Yeah.
silos.
And so they'd be an auger, that big auger. I don't know how tall them bins were. I'd say they's probably 30 foot or
They were some of the tallest ones in the area.
Around here
'cause
for
yeah,
them.
that was a working mill at one time. So
that one big auger would stay, over top of one of them, and then you had a little auger that you would load out of, and whichever one you're putting in or taking out, you'd have that Super M around there. Of course, it'd take a while to load a truck, and as a kid, I'd be napping
Just
around
6-inch augers.
that. Yeah, 6-inch auger. It'd take a pretty good while.
and that was a pretty interesting place to explore. If
Oh
you
yeah,
really got to,
yeah. Well, I was back there one day, just looking at that Super M turning a PTO on that auger, and it had an old loose metal shield. They're plastic now, but it was metal. Well, that auger was turning inside of that shield, but that shield would just barely turn. It was kind of like an optical illusion,
And your gears were turning.
Yeah, I thought, wow, I said, that's kind of wild. And I just reached down there and I grabbed that shield.
Oh,
and of course,
man.
it went tank, 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 tank. They had come running around there, just knowed I'd got hung up in it, scared to begin with. And after about 15 seconds, the fright went away and anger come in.
Yeah, which we've experienced. as
Absolutely.
parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know exactly. But I thought, don't do that no more.
Yeah. Well, then you're wondering.
Oh,
What
hand
what
on
kind
it.
of boots? What kind of boots was them he wore all the time?
Red Wings?
No, in the wintertime.
Oh, them
Lacrosse. Lacrosse, yeah.
Green with yellow band
ran
around
around
the
the
top.
top. Yeah.
He didn't turn that sideways across your hind end, did he?
No, I actually got a whooping over that. But I did get that one time. We was down there at the house. Brad, he had started trucking at that time, had that little Internationals. Uncle Roy says that little binder truck. And they was 2 or 3 of them drivers and him standing around there, and just me, a little idiot kid. I've got a cheese puffs. And I'd take them cheese puffs and I'd make them into cheese dust, and I was blowing them on Brad, which Brad's old enough to try to talk business, but still young enough. I think he's just my young cousin still,
he's your buddy
yeah,
still.
Yeah, Dad said, son, don't do that.
Yeah, about 10 times.
Yeah, that's the first time. And then about maybe not the 10th, but
Close.
3rd or 4th time, son, don't do that again. Put again on there. So I continued, and before I knew it, he had taken that leg and sweeped me, just like Karate Kids. Sweep the leg, Johnny, And my feet fly up, and I hit the ground, knocks the breath out of me. I was like that right there. And of course, I'm embarrassed, all them
Oh,
guys.
yeah,
And I just got a limp in.
Mom.
Yeah, Mom.
Yeah,
Yeah, he sure did.
I can tell
How
a good.
come every time somebody got after you, you run to mama?
It's home base. It's just like hide and seek,
I know one time you didn't make it.
I know. I got my
Yeah, you better
undercarriage
not go
greased.
into it.
That's a polite way to put it. You know how he broke Dad from pranking? I got broke at a young age.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, that's why you don't play pranks so big.
You thought you had pulled a good one on him. You did, but you didn't get away quick enough.
What I do something to your coffee, wasn't it? Or
No,
I thought I'd.
no. You come around there, you was holding your hand,
Oh,
I said, what's wrong with you?
it's my elbow. I think. I hurt my elbow. I
I
think.
thought he was hurt, so I go over to examine him. What does he do? Whack.
You got him?
I got him.
Oh.
But he got me.
Yeah.
But he took off for the house, but I caught him before he got to the house. Yeah, he won't be running around me playing with the hurt elbow no more.
Oh.
You talk about your dad. You know, he intercepted us the night of the great Sunfish Mall heist.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know if he ever told anybody or not, but we cut through the woods and come across your all's farm,
Uh-huh.
and all of a sudden he was there, and he'd heard us coming, and he had turned he was back there checking cattle or something. He'd turned his light off and just stood by a tree, and we walked up on him. He about gave us a heart attack, as you can imagine.
Oh, I bet.
And so, what are you boys doing? Oh, we're just out and about. All right, do I need to tell I saw y'all tonight? Wish you wouldn't.
Nope.
Okay. Y'all stay out of trouble. Off we went. Oh, I mean, about this heart attack. Yeah, he intercepted the bandits that night and didn't even realize it.
So you're gonna have to tell the rest of the story. The great Sunfish Mall heist. There's gonna be people wondering about this one.
Just kids being stupid kids. So, we hung out at the store.
That your grandpa owned.
Yeah, my grandpa, the Sunfish Mall. And John A. would have gave us anything in there that we wanted, but probably besides chewing tobacco and cigarettes.
And that's what y'all
And
wanted.
that's what we wanted. Now, I never smoked. I never have smoked a cigarette. But I used to dip and chew. And so I think my cousin, we won't mention his name, I think he was living by himself at the time at the trailer up on that Martin farm.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know whose idea it was, but we decided to just walk up there. And so we walked from there up to the store.
That's a pretty good jank.
It's miles through the woods, straight shot, And we knew a piece of loose metal, so we slipped in there and got what we wanted, flipped out. Well, nobody said anything. We was nervous. A few nights later, we run out of supplies.
Do it again.
Well, let's go back. So up here we come. I think somebody remember them BBs that come in them little plastic packs?
Oh,
They
yeah.
were almost like a ketchup packet, but they were plastic. I think somebody may have grabbed one of those that come apart, and them BBs went everywhere. Well, you can't pick up, 200 BBs in the dark. So we did the best we could, and I think that's what got us busted. But we were going to go to the truck show with y'all. Jimmy, y'all's going to take us all to the truck show. And needless to say, after it took me about 2 months before I got to leave the house again. We were in trouble, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I had to go talk to John A. That was the worst part.
That's worse than a beating, probably,
Oh,
wouldn't it?
I'd say, Dad whipped me pretty good over
Yeah,
it.
I'd take a load of those boys
Up that
every
truck
year
show.
to the truck show and the farm show.
Yeah?
We'd stop at Shoney's D-Town to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah, they was
breakfast.
going to talk how they'd talk this big talk how they was going to eat Shoney's out of the house and home.
Yeah. So anyhow, I had to go talk to John A. and he had to,
How disappointed he
how
was.
disappointed and how, morals and all that stuff. And it's probably, looking back, probably one of the roughest talking tos I ever got in my life. But he never really hollered at me.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, I felt bad after that.
Yeah, but he just keep on shrinking you down.
Oh yeah, I felt horrible afterwards, and I saw the wrong in it. But at the time, it was just us, just going up there to get us something.
Mm-hmm.
That he would have gave us anything else in that, that store. And he did. He's all the time giving us stuff out of it. He wouldn't give us that chewing tobacco or them cigarettes.
That's what Dad done that time when I run that blue truck off in the pond down there. You remember that? Remember when they was filling that old pond up with sawdust? It's right down there by the hay barn. It kind of had some steps to it, and my only job was to keep the gate open, to open the gate back and forth when he'd come through there and get hay, to keep him from getting off the tractor. Well, that old blue truck was down there, and so I got to shooting donuts out there in the field while he was back there putting that hay out.
Yeah.
And I slid her off in that pond. Of course, there she sat, straight up, just like that. Made 5 or 6 more rounds, and every time he'd come by, just look at you and shake his head. I was like, just stop, get off.
Help me.
Help me,
Yeah.
help me, pull me out something. And it never raised his voice or anything, but my gosh, I felt like a minuscule after that.
Got a little smaller each trip.
Yeah, he told me he'd been around a lot of ignorant people, but that's one of the most ignorant things he'd ever seen in his life. And I got to reviewing some of the people I've been around. Like, golly, if that's the worst that Dad's ever seen, that's bad.
That's bad.
Because I know some of the people and some of the things that we'd seen.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if that is the worst, that's bad.
Remember, you boys, y'all brought that up about following that hay baler.
Oh, yeah.
Kyle followed a lot more rounds than I did, but I tried to spell
But
him
me and
when
Gary
I
was
could.
sitting over there by the pond on that swing. He's sucking on that ice water.
I will love Jimmy Hayes till the day I die.
That's what you said, wasn't it?
I still, yeah.
But anyway, that tailgate wouldn't latch, so Gary, he said, you know anything about them? Nah. I said, you got a manual on it? Yeah. So, boy, we get the manual and we read on it. Oh, Kyle, he's red as a beet from riding. He had shorts on. Them legs, red,
He's a
sunburned.
lobster, huh?
Oh, yeah. Of course, your motor's hot. It's hot outside.
You ain't getting no speed.
No speed for no air.
Why were you having to follow?
He had to ride behind it and give Autry the thumbs up or thumbs down with her because the
It would
tailgate would
latch.
latch sometimes and sometimes
Sometimes
it
it
wouldn't.
would.
And if
so
it
you
didn't
throw it,
latch-
it'd pop open, yeah.
If it didn't latch, you got a half a bale in there, something would spring the door.
Spring that gate because it'd just be one side. I remember when the first time it happened, I guess, and they was down there and had that white truck and a 4x4 against it and a block in
Trying
it,
to spring it back. Yeah.
But anyway, I went down there in the shop by their house that night, and there he was, boy, them shorts on. He said, Zig, if you can figure out what's wrong with that, said, where I don't have to follow that thing tomorrow. He said, I'll be your friend for life.
Haytime hero.
That's better than RC. I wouldn't just go buy him a breakfast. It's for life now.
Yeah, he said, I'll be your friend for life.
That's right.
So, see, he's committed to me. So,
Yeah.
anyway, I moved some shims, you know. It was supposed to just have an 1/8 inch of clearance, and what did it have? 1/2 inch?
Yeah, probably.
It wasn't latch tight, see.
Yeah.
You know them old customs, like where somebody saves your life, you're indebted to them.
Yeah, you're indebted.
This is my guy right here.
Yeah, he said, if I don't have to follow that tomorrow, I'll be your friend for life. So, you know, I could do anything to him, but he's indebted to me.
Yeah.
He can't unfriend me. Yeah.
No
No
unfriending.
button. Can't
Yeah,
block him.
he can't punch that button and unfriend me.
Well, I don't know if either one of y'all's ever heard this one, but I've heard Dad tell a story about getting pulled over down on the parkway down there and thinking that the trooper was a little touched, had been out in the sun a little too long.
Well, speed limit on the natural was 55.
On the Natcher.
It'd have been the Green River then.
River Parkway then.
Yeah.
What's now 165.
Yeah.
Well, I was going northbound, you know. They said there was a Smoky Bar up there at the 63. So the county lines are down there about the 60, you know. So, boy, I was booking it up down through there to get a run, you know. So I get up there. Of course, it's a couple mile up there before you get to where he's at. So whenever I go up there the next little rise, you know, boy, I back her down, you know. This trooper, he opens the door, he steps out and motions me over. Back then, you had to have those little stickers on your window.
Insurance stickers.
Yeah.
I remember them.
Of course, he looks at that, you know, and then he wants to see my driver's license. And he said, Mr. Hayes, I'm going to issue you a citation for speeding. I said, what? What do you do? Sit out here and, you know, and just every now and then you jump out of your vehicle and motion somebody over and write them a ticket? Nobody hadn't said a word about that bear in the sky, you know. He said, that man up there said when you come by the county line, you was running 68 mile an hour.
Oh, so they had a plane
The
flying?
plane, yeah, the man in the little plane.
Dad said he pointed up and said, that man up there, he said, I thought he'd been out in the sun a little too long or something.
That's probably a new thing back in, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. They used to do that pretty often out there on the Audubon, though,
Yeah.
between Owensboro and Henderson.
Yeah.
They would do that pretty regular with a couple of chase cars.
I don't. They don't do that anymore, do they?
They got them, I know down south when we were in Florida, they got them things set up on the overpass that'll mark you or something like that to get your speed.
Well,
And,
now I've seen them. I've
They'll
seen
mail
them.
you a ticket from Florida.
Yeah.
Ask me how I know.
yeah,
I've seen
my
them.
brother-in-law
Smith's
got
Grove.
one, and I'd seen them up there.
I've seen them at Smith's Grove.
Oh, I didn't know
Be
we had
sitting-
something like that in
no,
Kentucky.
No, be sitting in a minivan, shooting radar out of the side door of a minivan on the
Minivan.
overpass and have 5 chase cars. I come down there in semi one day and
Yeah,
seen
they do that at Smith's Grove all the time.
They'll set up there on the overpass and they'll have a minivan with side door open and you'll see one sitting up in there and he's shooting radar and they was that day I come down there there's 5 chase cars on the ramp.
There used to be a fella set up on 31W in a minivan and shoot radar with a hairdryer
Hairdryer.
just as a speed deterrent.
I've heard
there was
stories.
no chase cars. It was just
I've heard stories.
just to make you slow down as you come by.
Yeah.
I'd say it works
If you're in
sometimes.
Florida and that light turns yellow, you better stop.
Yeah.
Because if you are in that intersection when it flips red, you get a ticket in the mail.
Well, that hairdryer, it worked. It would make them slow down.
It'd slow me down. I said Florida there a while ago. Lindsay and I flew into Florida a couple years ago. We're landing on the airport in Florida, or on the runway in Florida. I said, "What kind of car did you rent?" She said, "I thought you rented a car." I said, "Now you know that I'm not smart enough to pick a car out for us. That you have to do it. You know, it don't matter if I pick a car out.
It'd be wrong.
It's wrong one.
Sure.
So I don't. I just sit back." She said, "Oh, I forgot to rent a car." So she gets online while we're landing. She said, "There are no cars in Florida." Well, what are you going to do? I don't know. Let me think. So have you all heard of Turo? It's Turo. It is a website that you could rent. You could put the old green bean truck on there and rent it privately. if you
Really?
wanted to, yeah. So people rent their cars on here, and people buy nice cars they can't afford, and they rent them on there. Similar to the VRBO houses. You know, some people buy vacation houses and they supplement them by renting them out. So she said, "I've rented us one." "What did you rent us?" She said, "A Polaris Slingshot." Have you seen those?
No.
That's the 2 wheels in the front, 1 wheel in the
Two
back.
wheels,
Oh,
two
okay.
wheels in the front, 1 wheel in the back.
Two-seater.
2-seater, no top.
Did Bill have one of them for a while?
No.
Or
No,
something?
his was the motorcycle that's got 2 wheels in front. This is like a sit down, almost lay down.
Yeah,
I
it's
think.
almost a dune buggy, 3-wheel,
okay.
backwards 3-wheel dune buggy.
Okay.
So she rents that. Oh boy meets us at the airport with it. He's pulling up. I said, "Well, that looks like it's going to be fun." He pulls up and gets out. We are sitting there with a suitcase that's about the size of that refrigerator standing there. I said, "Where's the trunk?" He said, "Ain't no trunk." Well, what the hell are we going to do with this suitcase? You know? So Lindsay rode 2 hours with that big suitcase in her lap looking over it. So, moral of that story is if you ever rent a car, make sure
No.
it's something you need.
Know what you
Know what you're renting, yeah.
Me and your daddy, we done a lot of hard work. Back then, they wasn't no such records.
Didn't y'all clutch a truck on the side of the Green River
Yeah, on
Parkway?
the side of the parkway, yeah, one night.
Really.
I've heard him at one time. I think there was 3 sitting around different places. One maybe clutch and rear end and something else, and just got to them as you got the previous one fixed.
Yeah, you didn't call a record back then.
And then, if it's cold, you pulled them Carhartts on. Skiff the snow, didn't matter.
Yeah.
Well, now, y'all like stories, so I'm going to tell y'all one more. Then I guess I'm out of stories. Your little sister, she watches this, don't she?
Oh yeah, I think so.
So-
I've got several snide remarks from her.
Now, Jason,
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell this one on her.
Been so good to her.
When she was little, it was right after your dad had passed away. I stopped there, you know. Her Maxine was out there. Maxine was doing something out there. And Kayla was worried her to death of wanting some ice cream. And she
She's
wanted
still
some
like
chocolate
that.
ice cream. And
needy.
Maxine said, "I don't have no ice cream." Of course, Kayla kept on, you know, how little one is. She was little. She was wanting that ice cream. I said, "Well, come on, let's go to the store and get you some chocolate ice cream." Well, Maxine was okay with it, you know, but she, you know, give you that lecture. You be careful with my baby, you know, so.
Last time I picked Kyle up down there, she gave me the same lecture.
Yeah. But anyway, of course, I didn't have no car seat. I just sat in the seat and pulled the strap around, you know. So we go to the store to get some chocolate ice cream.
Corner Market.
No, it's down at the B&B.
B&B still open?
We go down there. I take her in there, and I hold her up to the ice cream counter. She had a little white top on. I'll never forget it. So anyway, I hold her up there, slide that door up, hold her up there. She looks over all that, and she gets one of these 2-stick popsicles.
Like Fudge Pop type.
No. It's red, white, and blue.
Red,
like a
white,
bomb
blue.
pop.
Astro Pop.
Astro Pop, yeah.
Got 2 sticks.
I was thinking she was wanting chocolate.
She was, but she changed. When
So anyway, I pay for it, put her in the truck, and I peel the paper back. So we're coming up the road, and she's a sucking on that thing, and it's a leaking, falling out. And that white top was purple or blue,
Yeah.
all down the front, So anyway, it goes on. She's bigger. And run onto him down at the corner market one time. And, "Well, you still like chocolate ice cream?" "Yeah." "Well, you want one?" "Well, yeah, So then, when y'all was running the station over there, she was probably in high school, wasn't she?
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Early high school.
Yeah.
I'd been down at the concrete plant working. I stopped there and got some gas. And her Maxine was in there. And, of course, I just looked at Kayla and I said, "You still eating that 3-colored chocolate ice cream?" She said, "No." I said, "Why not?" She said, "'Cause you quit buying it." I said, "Well, I can remedy that. I'll pull my truck over here. We'll just go over here to the restaurant and get us some ice cream." So anyway, we asked Maxine if she wants ice cream. No, she's on a diet. So me and Kayla, we go over there, man, we get us a big, have them stack that on there. So we back over there, and we're over there in that truck seat, licking that ice cream, Of course, Maxine said something to us about us coming over and eating that in front of her.
Yeah. Tempted her.
But I thought that was funny. Kayla says, "No." I said, "Why?" She said, "'Cause you quit buying it."
That's funny.
All right. We've touched on ice cream. We've touched on station. I know you got a good one to tell on that.
On ice cream at the station?
Ice cream cone.
Oh. Well, yeah. So I pumped gas for several years, and you'd see 200-300 people a day or something like that. We was out there one summer day, and it's hot. I mean, it's hot. And Matt Davis and Timmy Vincent, they was farming together, I guess, back then, wasn't they?
Mm-hmm.
And they had been to the Dairy Queen, and I think Matt had like a Blizzard or something in a cup, best I can remember. But Timmy had a cone. Had that cone, that ice cream about, 4 inches or something like that. As soon as they pulled up, I started laying it to him. I said, "Here, I thought we was buddies. Thought we was friends. Y'all probably knows you was coming up to get gas. Didn't get me nothing." Of course, how am I supposed to know,
Yeah.
Timmy. I said, "Timmy, if you was any kind of friend at all, you'd give me a bite of your ice cream." "You eat the whole thing?" I said, "No, I promise." I said, "If you'll let me have it, I'll take one bite, and that'll be it, I promise." He said, "You lying to me?" I said, "Have I ever lied to you about something important like this?" All right,
Important like ice cream?
right. One bite. So he hands that ice cream out the window, and I just turn it up and I bite the bottom out of that cone. I hand it back in there to him. So I tell you what, it seemed like instantly he had that stuff dripping. He had napkins on the bottom of it. Of course, it wasn't soaking every bit of it up. It was running everywhere. I thought Matt was going to have a heart attack. He laughed. Timmy, "I can't believe you do me like that." I said, I done just what I told you. Just one bite. That's all I was going to take.
That is great.
Yeah.
I have never thought about doing that to somebody.
Yeah, I just
I hope my kids don't listen to this before I get
them before Bub releases it.
Yeah.
I got a story about it's about a snow cone. It's not really about ice cream since we're on that subject. When the boy was playing Little League Baseball, at that time they just had someone, Teresa Van Meter, run the concessions, but you as parents had to volunteer down there. That was part of
You had to do your
duty. Yeah, that's right.
we
So
get that.
we all took a weekend, and little Billy's mom and dad, they would take
That's
this
a
week.
long weekend.
Right. So I mean, I'm not the best in the kitchen, as you both probably know.
Really?
All of you know. Gabby, by the way, is an excellent cook, and has said that we can have some breakfast burritos. Not too much in the future.
I figured Uncle Gene tuned you up on cooking.
No, I've never been a very good cook. So I get down there, and
No, but you like a breakfast burrito.
I do my part. I eat. They cook.
Right,
It's equal.
Teamwork.
Teamwork. Who would cooks cook for if nobody was there to eat it?
Right.
I feel like that's my part.
Teamwork.
He likes them meals on wheels.
Yes, delivery's even better. But anyway, we're down there at the ballpark, and Tiffany Coots. You know Tiffany works over at the bank.
Yeah.
Tiffany's awesome. She was in there. I mean, she's nachos, hot dogs on.
I think didn't she work at Dairy Queen?
Oh yeah. I mean, she's running that back part, and I'm like, you tell me what to do, and I'll do whatever. I'll hand Cokes out the window. She said, I tell you what, you just go over there on the snow cones. And I said, well, I don't know how to do snow cones. She said, it's easy. You put the ice up here, hit this button, it grinds it up. You take this scooper if they want grape, purple, raspberry, blue, and I think the red was strawberry or whatever, cherry, whichever it was. So, I mean, I'm feeling good about myself. I've made about 5 or 6 snow cones. Great.
You're a snow cone.
I am a snow cone. Yeah, I mean, this is something totally outside of my element, and I feel great about it. So, grape, raspberry. So, Teresa hollers back there and says, snow cone, rainbow. I look at Tiffany, I was like, what's rainbow? They had to do this before. She said, it's all 3 colors, Kyle. Like I'm an idiot, like you should have thought of that. I was like, oh, okay. So I get that snow cone up there, grape, raspberry, cherry, all in the same. Well, do you know what happens when you mix purple, red, and blue? It comes out dog poop brown. And I hand this snow cone out to this kid, and it's the most disappointed look you have ever seen in your life. This kid is holding this snow cone and backing away like, what in the world did they just give me? So I'm heading back, and she's like, what did you just do? And I said, I made that kid a rainbow. She said, my goodness. So she gets that snow cone up there and makes a stripe of red, a stripe of blue, and then a stripe of purple. She said, that is a rainbow. Have you never seen a rainbow? I said, that makes way more sense. And so she goes out the door and runs that kid down. That kid, I swear, if you could have seen his face, though, it's just like his best dog got run over.
That's fun.
Just held that snow cone up like, oh, my God.
So speaking of food, I told you all I had a Subway story.
Oh, yes. I forgot about the Subway.
And that you asked transportation or restaurant. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna go with the restaurant. When I actually have, I thought of a transportation when you said that, but so I stop at Subway this week to get something to eat. And when I walk through the door, there's one guy behind the counter, and he is standing back there vaping over the food.
Ooh,
which I don't know. I don't vape. I don't know anything about it. I don't want you doing it over my food. So I walk up to the counter, and I said, "Can I get a number 42, which is a chicken salad wrap?" And he said, "Yeah, but I've got to restock, so you're gonna have to hang on a minute." Just rude. Mm-hmm. So I stand there while he restocks everything.
And I know what's going through your mind. You should have been restocking instead of standing there vaping.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So you saw me coming. I'm fat boy. You can see me coming from a long way away across this parking lot. So I stand there while he does that. And so when he gets done, what do you want? And I'm like, I'm telling you, if I wasn't, where I was at, that's really the only option you got. So I'm going to stand here and tough it out. So I tell him what I want. And every time I'd ask him, I'd like tomatoes. What next? I mean, it was just hateful. Just hateful. This guy's probably 25.
What
next? He's not retail material. So I get up there, and he tells me it was $12, which Subway's expensive, right?
Sure.
And so I pull a 20 out, and I stand there with it in my hand. And I said, also, I would like some napkins if you don't care. And so he makes the change, gives me my change back before he takes my 20 from my hand. So I hold my other hand out, take the change, lay the 20 on the counter. He goes and gets the napkins, and I take the change part, the cents, and lay it on the counter too. I don't want it rattling in my pocket. Mm-hmm. Put the cash up. He hands me my napkins, and he points at that 20. He said, "What's that?" And I said, "Well, that's for you." Meaning, that's what I paid for.
Yeah.
You're kidding me, he says. And I said, No. And he said, "Man, I appreciate that." and picks it up and puts it in his pocket.
The biggest tipper of the
Yeah.
night.
And so I thought, if you hadn't been such a pain in the butt, I'd probably tell you different, but I'll let you figure that one out on your own. So I get my food and go sit down. Oh boy brings me cookies. Pats me on the back. Man, I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
You don't know what kind of day I've
No,
had.
and so I thought, man, you know, I don't care to reward good behavior, but when you're rude to me, I'm gonna let you mess with yourself. I did not purposefully do that.
You changed his whole outlook on the day. Maybe life.
He was happy the rest of the day till he
I was
counted that
gonna
drawer down.
I bet the next customer, he's just like, hey, mate, tomatoes, cucumbers.
Yeah, he
I
treated
may
him a
have
lot
to
different.
Help the cause.
Yeah.
You were asking about the subway transportation. Lindsay and I were in New York one time.
I've never been on a subway. I've never been on anything like that. Is
It's a train underground.
I know what one is.
I
I don't mean like I don't know what it is.
I thought you were confused.
Is that why you became an engineer?
Yeah, there you go. So
You wanted to drive the train.
So you in New York, and I'm sure the other cities that have it, but it's just a set of stairs on the street. You go down, it's a whole world under there. Some of them have little convenience stores, and so we get on this train, and it's just seats, and there's poles. You know, some of them get really full, and people stand up on them. We step into this train, and there is a guy at the other end of the train in a wheelchair with his back to us. We sit down, doors close, and when the doors close, they close. There's no stopping them. And that train takes off, and I look, and here comes the wheelchair.
Oh, no.
He does not have the brakes locked. And he hits one of those poles and spins around, and he also does not have legs. He's a homeless guy.
Right.
Which I did not catch that at first.
Sure.
But he is enjoying riding the subway with no brakes. And the train would stop, and he would go all the way to them.
So you think this is purposely he doesn't have the brakes on?
Yeah. The train take off, and here he'd come. And he was, laughing and just rolling. You know what I did? I'm from Sunfish. I'm taking care of stuff pretty quick.
No.
That next stop, them doors open. I stood up, grabbed that wheelchair, and shoved him out that door onto the ramp. Doors closed. We took off. Case on. He got off.
Boy, you're right.
He got off on 3rd Street. I think he was going to 12th, but he had to wait for the next train. Everybody looked around at me like, I cannot believe you just did that.
That is the modern day maddest man ever from Jerry Clower. You ought to see that guy put off back in wherever.
Lindsay's about half germaphobe. That old boy, he'd roll past us, draw up, I'd say, I'd take care of that. Just let the train stop. That train stopped. I cut them handles, and out that door he went, door shut, and we rolled on.
Oh, no.
Oh. All right, we're going to have to wrap this one up.
Let's do it.
Dad, thanks for coming.
Jimmy, we
Yeah.
appreciate all the life lessons you've bestowed on us growing up. Don't we, Kyle?
Absolutely.
Brandon?
I'm indebted to him.
Yeah.
Y'all didn't know that.
Yeah, he's lifelong.
Well, I'll tell you what, probably
You're the only one that can escape that,
Yeah, he's committed. I learned a lot just being around you over the years, but probably one of the most, the best lessons you ever taught me was how to talk to cattle when we were loading them. I mean,
Move them right along.
move them right. They listen.
Yeah.
They listen. I don't know if you remember down in that little barn by your dad's house. We got in there with them calves that day, and I don't know who was kicking harder, Jimmy or them cows. I was afraid you was gonna hurt their, I was afraid you was gonna hurt their feelings.
They were about to push the wall out.
Well, don't get around him with a shock stick. I can tell you that firsthand.
Oh, did he get you?
Oh, get me. Right in the chest. He's over at the station, and I'm walking toward him, and once you get this momentum going one way, there ain't no backing out. I'm about a step and a half from him, and as I walk in,
Porky paid me to do this.
son, that cattle prod comes out the window, and I walk right into it. Lit my tail up. Yeah.
Well, you know what?
And you know what I done back? Nothing. Absolutely
Yeah,
nothing.
you took it.
All right.
Over at that station, though, you had to be on your toes.
Oh my goodness!
I stopped in there one time to use the restroom when you all were open.
Is this an ether story?
Yes. Went in there,
I can't imagine there being a
May
story
have had
about
my
Kyle
pants
and a can
down.
of ether.
and all of a sudden a fireball comes under the door
Under
and
the
takes
door.
all the hair off the left side of my leg. I'm like, oh my gosh, what was that?
Hey, I seen him do it. We went over there to close one evening, and the boy he had working, we get there and he ain't nowhere to be found. Bathroom doors closed. I'll teach him being there in the bathroom when he's supposed to be out here pumping gas, can of ether and lighter. Whew, you hear in there in the bathroom.
You gotta smoke them out every now
Boy,
and
you
again.
got me. You got me, but you gonna plug your wife?
Yeah. Yeah.
You lit my Carhartt Razzly coat on fire over there one day too.
That don't sound like. I bet it was Charlie.
No.
Yeah, Charlie Hampton
I bet it was
Sanders.
Charlie Hampton Sanders.
No, it's you.
All right. If y'all need any design work done, check out Hayes Farmhouse Design on Facebook or Etsy. Thank everybody for listening. Y'all come back and see us.